welcome back to Ron Hasn't Seen. I'm Ron, and on this channel, I go back and watch movies I should have seen a long time ago. Whether they're award winners, something more pop culture, something that just sits in, the public consciousness I might have missed. Which is weird because I'm a film guy. I took a lot of film classes, I worked briefly in the industry. So now, this channel gives me an excuse to go back and watch them. Today, I'm wrapping up a series on musicals I should have seen, with a movie I'm not sure I really classify as a musical. 2007's Once. Once is an Irish film by John Carney that really gained notoriety when it won the Oscar for Best Song for Falling Slowly. The writer and director Carney was the basis for the male lead Glenn Hansard's band he had before they filmed this, and turned to him for inspiration on what it was like to busk in Dublin and, become an up-and-coming musician. And he also turned him to compose the songs for the film. But he wasn't the intended lead actor. Actually, Cillian Murphy was intended to play the lead role, but he dropped out for a couple reasons. The film was shot for just $150,000 over 17 days, and funded mostly by the Irish Film Board. So it's a nice little indie film that kind of features some Irish indie folk music. The film follows an unnamed couple with Glenn Hansard as a busker who plays the streets of Dublin, and Markita Irglovia, a Czech immigrant working as a house cleaner and flower seller who uses some pianos in a music store just a little bit as to play them as a form of escape. When she finds out the guy repairs vacuums, he brings her a broken Hoover the next day to fix. So he takes her home to his dad's shop and they repair it. They hang out back at his room in his father's house. And he's talking about most of his music about his fairly recent breakup. And they're hitting it off a bit. And he asks her to stay the night, but she gets angry and leaves. They make up the next day, and they start working on some songs together. He actually finds out she has a child in Dublin, and she's still married, and her husband is in the Czech Republic. She convinces him to go to London and try to win back his ex, but before he does that, he wants to record a demo album with her and some local musicians first. They convince the guy at the studio to take a little less cash because he thinks they're promising. They record the songs, and she reveals her husband is coming to live with her in Ireland. But before leaving, the busker buys her a piano, and the movie ends with the flower girl playing for her husband, and the busker seemingly getting back together with his ex. And you know what? I really love this movie. It's kind of an anti-romantic comedy drama. Despite them flirting hard most of the movie, and just keep near missing like an impressive air show, it's not depressing that they don't end together. They both seem to go on to happy endings without each other. But with their brief, and I don't want to call it a tryst really, making them better people for it. They got what they needed out of this relationship, even if it's not what the audience wanted. You know that they fall in love with each other, but it's just not their fate. And the chemistry between Hansard and Irgova is amazing. And there's the fact that they became a couple and toured together as a musical duo for a while, the Swell season, and that really attests to how good the relationship on camera was as well. But, like the film, they eventually split as friends, and it really just mirrors the characters nicely. And I think that kind of relationship that fizzles out without ever really starting is something a lot of people can relate to. I think anybody who doesn't marry their high school sweetheart has these kind of relationships in their past with friends, exes, things that just never were meant to be. Like a lot of movies I've watched for this channel, it's referenced in a lot of things, including The Simpsons, where the two leads reprised their roles for the episode in the name of The Godfather. Now, is this film really a musical? I consider it a musical film, but I don't really consider it a musical. If it is a musical, then Almost Famous would have to count as a musical. It's a movie about music, and the music plays a central role. And it's good music. I mean, it won an Oscar for Best Song, and Falling Slowly is beautiful. It's that kind of, it's right at the time, it's that Irish folk indie feel. It's something I would have listened to regardless of it being in a movie. But it doesn't move the story along as a narrative device. It's music in the film. It's that diegetic music. It just sits there with, yes, they're writing and conveying their relationship ideas for each other in the songs, but it's not the way you would typically think of a musical with no choreography. I think it's people playing to the camera. They did go on to make a stage version, which is clearly a musical. It won 8 Tonys after being nominated for 11. I've never seen it, and I would like to see it now. But that's more of a musical adaptation of this film. And there's some great things, like, you could tell with their relationship. Like, the lyrics they're writing reflect their status together, even though they move on to other people. And there's, some things I did not catch. I didn't catch that they weren't named when I went through it, but apparently they're just referenced as guy and girl in a lot of the articles I've read about it. And it might have been something I just missed because of the subtitles didn't mix, but at one point he asks her if she loves her husband, and she replies in Czech, "I love you," and it's not translated for us. I didn't find out she actually said that until later. So there is, this will they, won't they relationship, which I think I kind of knew going in was going to be a they won't. I loved that feel, and I loved the way the city, the music, everything played into a kind of realistic feel of things. And I would recommend this, but I don't think it's not really a movie for everybody because it doesn't end in that happy ending that you expect. I think the characters do end up where they're supposed to be. I think they rekindle what they lost by getting to know the other person. So yes, go see this and just kind of enjoy it. It's a nice short film. It's not overly long, which a lot of these musicals have been. And I think the music is enjoyable for people who aren't musical people. I think the music is enjoying for people who are musical people. So go check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. For mostly non-actors, I think the performances was great, and I once again chalk that up to the chemistry between the leads. Neither of them were really professional actors, and that's part of the reason Cillian Murphy didn't want to do the role. Everything seemed to fall into place to make this a really great film. So that wraps up my review of Once and my string of musicals. Maybe I'll see some more in the future. There's plenty I haven't gotten to yet. But I'm going to be moving on to a new topic. Originally, I'd watched movies from the 70s I hadn't seen. The ones I watched were The French Connection, Mean Streets, Chinatown, The Deer Hunter, and Serpico. I watched them all, and I'm going to talk about them. But because it's July, Comic-Con's coming up, I'm going to do something a little different because I think I've been watching a lot of heavy films on this channel. I'm going to skip those and come back to them in a little bit. And I'm going to talk about comic book movies I haven't seen. And I'm a pretty big comic book guy. I've got thousands of issues. My shelves are covered in figures and other memorabilia. You've seen some behind me, not so. And next week we're going to start with some comic book movies I haven't seen, which probably means they're not going to be that great. And we're going to start with Catwoman. So thank you for watching Ron Hasn't Seen. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, like the video. Once again, thank you, and I'll see you next week.